27 cases of such egregious maid abuse, 27 that went to court. You don't even know how many did not go to court.
A lot of people have lost the plot over a plot that got lost. A lot of people, including us three, are also losing the plot over 3 people who have lost their plot on a domestic helper, killing her in a process. Now, did they plot this? So we will be plotting over this subject in this plotty episode of In Our Humble Opinion.
You sounded like you lost the plot there.
Yeah. But I always lose the plot, don't I?
But it was a good plot to start with.
Something's buzzing. Okay, that's me. Now, back to the show. And on the show, I have on my right the brains behind the group. The one that we leave all the hard work to because we're too damn lazy. The professor himself, Gilbert Cheah.
Hello.
And on my...
Namaste.
No, that one's stolen. It's been stolen. And on my
I
left,
heard that.
he stole her tagline. And we have the cool grandma, Daisy Irani.
Namaste. Hello.
Oh, this namaste thing. Do I have to hop on that bandwagon as well?
Hello,
namaste.
hello.
Here we go. Now, today we got 2 stories that we're going to talk about. One, as I mentioned earlier, is about the plot that got lost. And everyone's up in arms and really lost the plot over this. And this has got to do about this plot of land in Kranji, Woodland. Mm-hmm. And it is actually scheduled, right, Gilbert, for redevelopment?
Yes, so it was already scheduled for redevelopment pending some environmental study. And before the study could be completed, the contractors went and cleared the land. So I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about this. If you go by what netizens are writing about, a lot of the outrage, people seem to think that it was a plot of virgin land that was supposed to remain untouched and it had suddenly been cleared, and that's not true. The reality is that the plot of land was going to be developed anyway. It was just prematurely developed before they could do a full study on this. So I think it's important to keep that in mind. Also, the area was basically disused cropland, meaning that it was not pristine virgin forest, rainforest like you might have at Bukit Timah, and that it was going to be developed anyhow. Granted, shouldn't have been prematurely done so, but I think a lot of the outrage is a little bit misplaced and ill-informed as well, to go by people's comments online. But it still is something that needs to be looked into, and I'm glad that they are looking into it to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Daisy, what do you think?
Well, I think that there are 2 important points here. First, why is it that the first reaction when anything goes wrong, terribly wrong, is to stick the blame on the small guy, right? And only when there's a ruckus and there are questions in Parliament and then the social media kicks in with the story and with pictures that were, quite telling, that's when, responsibility is taken and they accept supervisory responsibility. So that one, for me, it's really upsetting because it leads to the second one. You see, what happens is in a country that is governed by processes and procedures, and that's why when a major lapse like this takes place, where something is done without procedures, and then we are told that, it was just an accident. It's so difficult to swallow that. And so the hope is that when it is clear and we know that there was a blame or something did go wrong, that there will be a proper punishment given to that.
Okay.
Because it is something, whether it was scrubland is not what they're upset about as much as it was a process. It is a procedure. And you actually turn around and that poor contractor, I can imagine his face thinking, Alama, I'm the one to blame her.
Exactly. But the thing is, as you said just now, right? No wildlife were lost in the process, correct? I don't see what the big fuss is all about. And I also wonder, how is it that ministers got involved in this matter? Frankly,
because
I
of
mean,
public
what-
outrage.
No,
So
yes.
question.
Yes.
Let me raise what. Let me address what Daisy said there, right? Which is that there are processes. You're right. It should have been in place. My question is this: should JTC have made a public announcement about this, and would people care about it if there was no outrage?
And
let me just
Yeah.
finish. If JTC had said, "Hey, Singaporeans, our contractor accidentally cleared or prematurely cleared this scrub land that is how many hectares that was already earmarked for development," and they issued a press release, I don't think people would care very much. But I think because of the way it was released, when somebody released photographs before and after and made it seem like an expose, that made people...
Correct. But then, Gilbert, you're absolutely right. Because the way you explained it right now, if it was much ado about nothing, in a very sensible way, you release a press release to say, listen, guys, don't get hecked up. Point 1, point 2, point 3, like you said it.
Yep.
And people understand, especially at a time like this when in our budget there was so much money allocated to green. This green, we are looking at the future green, the environment. These words
But
are what
but
we
the
are
green
living towards.
protection is in there. Chris was...
No.
Yes.
So you see, sorry, yeah. So what happens is what you said was correct. But if it had been done in that simple way, instead of just without thinking, just first thing that comes is contractor is to blame. That's when people start getting upset.
Okay, NParks definitely for sure kept aside a certain amount of land, I can't remember which direction of it, but to ensure that it's not going to be developed or torn, or trees in the forest will be cleared.
Yes.
Right? And I think that's already been catered for. So honestly, as I said earlier, I don't understand the fuss. I agree with Daisy. I mean, big boy, don't shove the blame to the small fry. You know what I mean? And eventually, JTC did say that they should take responsibility. They're not going to run away from it. That's what the CEO said.
Correct.
And that should have been released to
Yep.
begin
Yep.
with.
Yep.
However, if no one had taken pictures of this, as you also rightly said, this kind of thing matters not for public consumption.
Correct.
So-
But then you address it like that. You see, okay, there's one thing I want to say. We're always talking about social media, whether, the importance of social media or how social media sometimes is used in a not very correct way, the cancel culture. In this case, those guys who took the pictures and posted them there and got this reaction which reached all the way to Parliament.
Yes.
Now you're thinking, what they did, was that right or was it wrong?
I don't understand why does matter. Look, let JTC answer it. Why must we have ministers answering for them? Or even saying things like, with our gaps in project management, directions for immediate follow-up has got to be
I think
done. Blah,
It's
blah,
going
blah.
to be a good learning
Yeah,
lesson.
but what we've said before is that I think the Singapore government has a problem with communication a lot of times.
Yeah, but they shouldn't also
Okay.
be. So in my opinion, don't be so light-eared. Also, the social media.
I think that part of the problem here is really that if you look at JTC as a corporation, I don't think they're social media savvy. I don't think they think about these things. I don't think they have a social media person there or PR person there.
And the
So-
ministers in Parliament are social media savvy.
No, but I think that when it becomes a public issue like that and it gets so much online noise, then they step in, which I don't think is that bad a thing. I
But
think it's good.
JTC might not be media savvy and might not be social media savvy, but they're savvy enough to just shove the blame on one contractor
Yeah.
somewhere.
I don't think it
So
would.
then it's like that kind of reaction.
No, but that shows they are not savvy, you see. They didn't think that by doing this, they're going to get more
But
backlash.
But that's more to
right?
it, Gilbert. It's not only about not being
Guys,
savvy.
guys.
It's
Is
also
this-
about pushing the small guy
Guys.
under the bus.
This is JTC.
Yeah.
Yes,
They
correct.
had better get social media
I agree,
savvy.
Chris. I agree.
You know what I mean? Every board in Singapore had better get social media savvy because Parliament seems to be trying to be social media savvy and getting involved in checking things out on social media.
And Chris, what you said was spot on. Okay, so it's not such a big deal.
Oh, you actually said that, huh? I'm spot on,
No,
huh?
because
First time.
it's not such a big deal, and you don't need to let the public know every little thing you're doing.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you'd say. This
Exactly.
this is the procedure. This is what's earmarked. This is what we are going to do. So sorry, guys, you're showing those pictures, but 2 months later, that's exactly what was going to happen.
Unless wildlife were harmed, then yeah.
But we
this
don't
is a
know
bit
about
salah,
that, right?
you know?
No, but do we know about
Yes,
that?
they've already
Yeah,
made
they've
the
already done-
announcement.
yeah.
There is
there
no
was-
dispute about
Yeah.
that.
So that's the different thing. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? If you made this mistake and animals have been killed or their habitat's been completely destroyed, you're not giving them a space for them to run to. Then I think this is something wrong here.
Can
you
I
know?
ask you something?
Yeah.
Who just out of the blue takes pictures, of land being cleared and posts it? Is it there are people who are actually finding out that this shouldn't have been done, or
Them free,
how
yeah.
did it start?
Them free lah.
I'm
No,
just out of curiosity. So,
No, there are.
what is
there
the
are-
seed?
There are groups here who monitor the land clearance because they want to preserve as much officially.
Official,
Yeah,
correct.
Either that or amateur groups as well.
No, I think
you know.
Vigilantes.
Don't you think the advocacy groups doing
Yeah,
this?
yeah.
Right, there you go. Very free, huh?
No, I think
I
it's
don't-
very responsible. Free,
I
but
think-
responsible.
Now you made me look like a bad guy.
no. But Daisy, there are advocacy groups that also have members or people in them who I think have a point of view of being anti-development. So it runs the gamut. I think that there are those who are responsible and understand that we need development, and others who are really just anti-development. So I think that whatever it is, JTC is a big corporation. They should have better control of their contractors. That's a key issue here. Whether or not the contractor is really to blame, I think it's a secondary issue. If the contractor was to blame, why did JTC have lax procedures that allowed that to happen?
Absolutely.
You see, that's part of the
Absolutely.
issue here.
And this is not something you do in a day,
Well, at least one.
clearing so much land.
I think one good thing.
No, it wasn't done over a day.
That's
It was
it.
done over a period
Correct.
of time.
So you're talking about over a period of time, nobody at JTC is aware. And if they aren't doing the due process that is needed. And I'm glad this was brought up.
Well,
I am
perhaps-
happy it was brought up.
Perhaps the good thing that can arise out of this entire episode is that everyone who's involved in redevelopment, right, will be looking at our green more carefully.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And to be more fastidious about how they do this, and for the benefit of our wildlife,
Yes.
and to also ensure that we still have some green belts around Singapore.
Yeah. Well,
So I think that's it might just come out to be a good thing anyway.
Yeah, I think that we're doing pretty well in general, given the small size of the country, the need for land, and the amount of greenery we do have.
we are still one of the greenest
Yeah.
city-states in the
Yeah.
world.
So
Okay.
lessons to be learned all around here.
Okay, I'm gonna hand over the next story to the person who's I know has been steaming because I can feel the steam.
Wow.
I
Even
can
I,
feel the steam,
perspiring here,
Yeah,
I love-
exactly. It's the steam is moving this way like a
just-
rice pot. There's just rice just finished cooking. The steam is coming this way.
Can I have the rice later?
And when
Okay,
waiting for
let's
my
not waste
rice.
our precious time on this
On
long
the rice
introduction.
spot.
On the
It's
screen.
my Tourette's. Okay.
On the screen, they've already put the story up. So
Okay, let's go.
Okay. There's it's a story, this horrendous story. I just cannot believe that this has happened here in this country of ours.
Okay, let me just take over.
Yeah,
I think
yeah, he's
it is
waiting.
the worst case of maid abuse in the history of Singapore that resulted in the death of this maid, Myanmar maid, who came to Singapore in May 2015. She left her 3-year-old son in Myanmar to come here to work so that she could earn money to support the boy.
Correct.
You just think about that if you are a mother or parent, you leave your child to come to Singapore. Her employer, Gayatri Muragayan, would not allow her to have a handphone or a day off, and basically started abusing her. It was such terrible abuse that they were altogether, the autopsy found 31 recent scars and 47 external injuries. The litany of abuse is just horrifying. A couple of things here.
Which finally led to her
death.
Death.
Yeah, led to her
That's-
death,
yeah.
basically. The household had 8 people in it. That's something which, you think about this poor woman having to work in the household with 8 people in it. There were 2 tenants. The accused, her husband, her mother, and her 2 children, plus the helper itself. So so many questions about this. I think same thing as what we had discussed with the Patiliani case. There is a tendency in our society for institutions and for individuals who are charged with looking after the welfare and protection of domestic helpers and migrant workers to default and support the employer rather than the employee, you know. Case in point, she went to see a doctor 2 months before her death. Doctor didn't say anything, didn't report anything. When she died, she was already so emaciated. She was only 28 kilograms.
24.
24 kilograms, you know. And the doctor saw her 2 months before that and did not report this. That is just egregiously wrong. And there needs to be an investigation by MOH and the Singapore Medical Council. What do you guys think about this?
Well, Chris?
We've said this over so many cases of abuse that we've read, you know, throughout our entire, you know, last year in our season,
Yes.
our first season, and now into a second season. I can tell you, how many of these cases have we actually talked about on this show? And every time we do that, we always ask ourselves, what of the neighbors?
Yes.
You mean no one heard anything? It's
And the
impossible.
2 tenants who were living there.
Exactly.
I mean, come on, you know.
Everyone turns a blind eye.
Exactly. They need to be, you know, they're culpable in this.
Well, I'd like to add by just saying that the lady, Gayatri, her husband, Kieren
Yes.
Chelvam,
He's a
was a
cop.
policeman. Now,
Yeah.
Cop.
I'm just going to say that the police take an oath when they come to office. And it's, just bear with me because the oath goes like this. We pledge to uphold the law, to protect life and property, and to prevent and detect crime. So please note the words prevent, protect life. And it goes on to say that we pledge to discharge our responsibilities without fear or favor, regardless of race, language, or religion. I'm thinking this is what the husband, the police officer, pledged to the nation when he became a police officer. And he has totally failed in his duty because this is like being a traitor to the country.
Yep.
He betrayed us all by just remaining silent. And like both of you have stated, actually it's even worse because the mother of Gayatri, Prema, and the husband kind of remained neutral.
Well,
It's like we don't
the mother
know what's
took part
happened.
in the assault
Correct.
too. So she is actually going to be on trial herself.
So-
She's
so is the husband.
And so is the
So
husband.
is the husband.
He's being
Exactly.
charged.
But
huh?
Yeah.
my question is exactly like you said, Chris. If
Or
you're
being
going to
charged.
be neutral, you can't afford to be neutral at a time like this.
not at all.
You have to be able to let somebody know about this abuse that
I
is
think there
taking
also
place.
needs to be, and this needs to be said, that the Maid agencies need to take more responsibility for the people that they bring in. There needs to be mandated that they do checks on
Not on the phone.
households.
I
Not
believe
on the
they
phone.
called.
Yes,
And
you know.
And your employer is sitting right next to you. Do you dare?
Yeah.
Because this
and
woman
she had
didn't
no
dare.
phone. So, you know, MOM has set up a hotline, great, you know. But many helpers do not have access to a phone.
And she didn't have a day off.
Yes.
So she couldn't go
She couldn't
outside
out.
and take any help.
Exactly, you know. It's just a whole litany of things. So now people are scrambling to kind of cover their asses after this has all happened.
Oh.
And it's important to note that this, you know, she died in 2016. So it's been several years. It's taken this long for the case to come to trial, you know.
Oh, really?
Yes. This is not a recent thing, you know. And my heart just goes out to her little child who said goodbye to his mom when he was 3, you know, and never saw her again.
He's 8 now.
And you know what?
Yeah.
I'm thinking of another little child, Gayatri's child.
Not just
because,
3 kids.
Yeah, because now what's going to happen that she's going to go for life imprisonment.
father
The
too.
father's going to go.
And
the
the grandmother.
grandmother's
Grandmother's
going
gonna
to
go.
And for what?
Yep.
Yeah.
Maybe this power that Gayatri felt over this, you know, helpless person to do this kind of abuse. But you know, I've got one more point here. As a nation, we pride ourselves on being a gracious and kind country. Gilbert, every show you're saying, be kind, be kind. We pride ourselves to be an advanced society, you know, embracing kindness and justice and equality. This sends a very poor signal to the rest of the world that we don't have crime on our streets, but heck, we have a lot of crime and torture inside our homes.
This is where
And that is very sad.
This is where I feel, we've done so many of these sort of stories on this show. So many. Sometimes I wonder, when's it going to stop?
Yep.
I think society in this country have this unconscious sense of upperclassness.
Yes. I totally agree.
elitism,
Yes.
Even for the middle income household, the people who are the average citizen, Singaporean, probably thinks that I'm far higher,
Yes.
far more educated,
Absolutely.
far more wealthy,
Yes,
far
yes.
more. I know more than you do. You are beneath me as long as you are a person working in a blue-collar job, or you're someone
Or you're from
who's-
another country.
from another country who's working as a
That's
foreign
how they show their
worker.
power, right?
Yes.
That's how they show their power.
I don't see why we should be so bloody arrogant about this. And this arrogance then evolves into what? Into
Yep.
you abusing people.
There is definitely that. I so agree that there is a demonization, a marginalization, and a condescension towards people from
Yes,
other countries here.
yes.
And we cannot say that we are a civilized nation if our citizens treat the poor, weak, and vulnerable people from other countries with such cruelty and
This is like
violence.
Victorian England, Victorian England, where you had the paupers, and
yeah,
then you had the
yeah.
elites, and
Exactly.
Well,
You know?
I notice our minister, Josephine Teo, is already trying her best to repair the damage that is being done globally by saying that reparations will be made. But the lessons to be learned that have jumped out of the page are very clear. Like you said, one cannot afford to stand by and watch and not say. One cannot afford to be neutral. Because being neutral, I think, is like being part of the crime itself.
And I think that it's good that they're putting in place these measures, but all of these will mean nothing if the mindset is still there. That is that the employer is right, that foreign workers deserve to be treated like chattel. This kind of mindset will cause more people to drop through the cracks. It doesn't matter what the law is, it is the mindset that needs to change in Singapore. I
But
think
my
that's
question
very
here
important.
remains, like I said earlier, so many times have we covered stories like this, on our show.
Mm-hmm.
And then now they start thinking about how to legislate and
exactly.
have, like you said, reparations. I mean, hello, it's been going on like how long?
But
I'm not gonna go like, well done. I'm not gonna do that.
It
Should've
is
been done a long
definitely
time
way
ago.
too late.
Yeah,
yes.
but I just want to add that while in recent times these stories have been a lot more, it gets very depressing about ill treatment of maids, etc. But we have to remember that there are many families like us who treat the maids like family.
Sure, but it doesn't matter.
No, I know.
Because,
Even one case
one
is too
case,
much.
and this case is so horrifying.
But that's why we sit here and we are so horrified, because for us, we are celebrating the maids' birthdays. They are with us all the time, and it just that one bad apple don't
it's been
spoil
more
the
than-
whole world.
It's been so many. I counted
it's not
in
just one bad apple now,
2019
man.
there were 27 cases that went to court. 27 cases of such egregious maid abuse, including using a hammer to hammer the maid's
Yes.
teeth
Oh,
out,
God, I
Yeah, you
remember
pouring
that.
talked
boiling
about that.
water.
Yes.
So it's not a one-shot thing. It
No.
is 27 that went to court. You don't even know how many did not go
Did
to
not
court.
go to court.
These were so bad that they got a police prosecution. You see, so I think that as a society we really need to ask ourselves what is happening to us.
But then,
right?
Gilbert, do you feel that all these cases, usually there will always be the defense to say that there was depression, the person was going through a problem, there were a nervous
They try
disorder.
that. No, they try that, but a lot of times it's just cruelty, and it is a disregard for other human beings, and a sense that because we are Singaporeans and we're
Sense
wealthy,
of entitlement.
a sense of entitlement, a sense of superiority. There was one woman in one of the former cases who did say to the maid that you are absolutely nothing. I pay your
Yes,
salary.
I remember
You
it,
know,
yes.
and that encapsulates what is wrong
So,
here.
so can I ask you, now they've decided, because usually in Singapore, this kind of death would result in a death penalty, So what are the reasons that it's moved into life imprisonment?
Because I don't think it was. It's very hard to prove premeditation.
Meditation. Yeah.
The death penalty for murder would be if you premeditated it, you planned it. Then yes, that's a death penalty. But in this instance, they called the doctor and all that. They didn't expect it to die.
Yes, they didn't expect to die. But then after
It's
that,
like
they lied about it.
manslaughter.
Correct.
And they delayed
Correct.
calling the ambulance,
Yeah,
you know.
please
And I
please
also- I
throw
also-
some light on that, Gilbert. How they did it. They called and then they told the
You have
doctor
1
to
minute
come.
to throw that light because
No,
we
No,
need to end
basically
this
it was
topic.
they just delayed calling it and they tried to revive her and then they lied. They're saying that she had fallen and all of that.
Correct.
you
So it
know.
was a
But
lie
I also
over
want
a lie
to
over
I
a
also
lie.
want to address the defense lawyers who are saying now, and I want to quote Sunil Sunheesan, who says that life imprisonment is not necessary. She promises this court she will continue with all the treatments necessary for her well-being. Come on. That's a defense. Who cares about her well-being?
Okay, guys.
You know, that
we-
just does not make sense at all.
Sorry,
So-
but we gotta close off
Well,
this topic now.
I just want to say that you read
Yeah.
about a crime of such unconscionable nature. At that time, you really want to rethink capital punishment.
Yeah.
And
well,
I just needed to say that. because
Singapore
it's-
does have capital punishment. It's just that it is for premeditated crimes. I think in this case, I hope she gets
So
life
how
imprisonment.
did she think that this was going to end? Just on and on abuse.
One thing is
Yeah.
for sure, we need to end this episode right now. So
Okay.
Daisy, you be closing. So I'm going to hand over first for him to close for his side of things. Gilbert, here we go.
Okay. I say what I needed to say. I think right now my heart does go out to the family and the little boy. I'm going to try and raise money for the kid. So if any of you want to be a part of that, do contact us. I want to end with a quote from Elie Wiesel. He was a survivor of the Holocaust who became a Nobel Peace Prize recipient, and he wrote many books. And he said this, and we must take this to heart. He said, "We must always take sides. Neutrality helps the oppressor, never the victim. Silence encourages the tormentor, and never the tormented." And those words are something which I think are all the more relevant today.
Thank you, Gilbert.
Yes.
Are you ready for Chris's ditties? Chris's ditties?
I'm going to turn away.
Okay. This, what I've written today is just a summary of what we discussed today. All right? And it goes something like this. Land so big cannot just disappear. A lot of vegetation that was cleared. So late then say ding dong like ping pong. Don't laugh, keep quiet. Like that can make you very tired. But the worst that has happened reads like a horror story. Anyone would feel threatened to come to our shiny island, where life seems safe to earn a living they crave, only to be beaten and enslaved, life taken, and the poor little children, innocent with no more parents, to be loved, to be held, to be raised. No helper should ever be treated with such impunity. Our wealth and education rots in our indignation. Shame on us. Shame on us all.
Yes.
Well said. Okay, I would like, Gilbert, very much to add on to what you said first. Because when you spoke about neutrality, Dante said, the hottest places in hell are reserved for those who, in times of great moral crisis, maintain their neutrality.
Yes.
Because both the topics of today had to do with crime and punishment. We were talking about two kind of deaths. One of the Maid, and in one way, one of our forests, let's say. And so both these crimes had taken place under the watch of those who are here to serve us and to protect our interest, under the watch of a stat board, under the watch of a policeman. And this is what Thomas Jefferson said. The care of human life and happiness, and not their destruction, is the first and only object of a good government. So, hey, please, let's strengthen the watch. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, everybody. You've been watching In Our Humble Opinion. Be sure to catch us, the full video on Facebook and YouTube, and also soon to be on iTunes and Spotify. Until next time, when you see something wrong, don't shut the hell up. Bye, everybody.
Be safe and be kind. Bye-bye.